What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to give you guys my review of Mortal Kombat 1. WB provided me a code of the game. Just want to throw that out there. I got it one day early from the Deluxe Edition, so I got it on Wednesday when people were able to play it, Thursday if they got that early access, and I made my way through it, and I have some thoughts. I actually have some pretty strong thoughts specifically on the story, and I might make a whole separate video just to talk about that stuff, but we're going to kind of talk about the entire game here. And let me just start out by saying I think this game is really, really good. In terms of recommendation, I would recommend it. Look, I'm not a massive fighting fan. The diehards or the people that have been around the channel for a while have probably heard me say that, right? But I will say, over the last couple months, I've played Street Fighter V, played Street Fighter 6 day one when it released. Over the last month and a half, I've actually played 5 Mortal Kombat games, Shaolin Monks, 9, 10, 11, and Mortal Kombat vs. DC, all to get ready for Mortal Kombat 1. So while I am normally terrible at fighting games, and I still am in terms of multiplayer, so I come to these games primarily for the story. And a lot of this review here is going to be talking about the story because that's where I think the bread and butter of Mortal Kombat has been for quite a while. Obviously, the gameplay is a huge part of it as well, and I have some thoughts on that, but it's mainly the story that I want to focus on. But overall, I think this is a great package. I think it's definitely worth the money, and I would recommend it. But let's talk about some individual aspects. In terms of visuals, holy dear God, this game looks absolutely insane. It looks so good, whether you're just fighting and it's the backgrounds you're looking at, or the forefront, right? The characters actually fighting. It just looks incredible, whether it's the fatalities, whether it's just the moves that they're doing. The game looks incredibly good, and it feels good. Now, it feels different than the past Mortal Kombat games. I sensed that in the beta. I think a lot of people sensed that when the beta released for this game. But again, because I've tried to become like a newfound fan of this franchise, and I've played 5 games in the last month, in my mind, or even in my hands, like when I'm actually playing the game, I have like what I think the feel of Mortal Kombat is based off of those games, 9, 10, 11. I don't know if I would say it's for the better or for the worse. It's kind of just like a dual timeline here. I can jump into those games and probably relearn how to fight. And again, it's just a small little tweak. But if you play it, you'll know what I'm talking about. I have a lot of confidence, I think, that people will feel the same way. Maybe for better, maybe for worse, but it is slightly different. So in terms of the content here, I actually think this game, in some ways, it has maybe on the surface level the least amount of content that you've seen from a Mortal Kombat game, but actually, when you delve further in, it actually might have the most. So the story mode is meaty, and we'll talk about that in a second, but it's really the invasion mode where, and I played that actually last night, real time when I'm recording this, that mode is huge. It's absolutely massive. Now, I think some people already knew that, but if you didn't know, you look at the story mode, you say, okay, well, there's 5 or 6 hours. Alex, is it worth it just for that? I don't know if I'd recommend a, $60, $70 game, any game, for 5, 6 hours. Depends on the quality of it for sure, and it probably teeters on being worth it just for the story. However, when you introduce invasion mode, that mode is massive. That mode is a lot of fun. I really like it. I'll be honest with you. You can pick any character. You go through it. It's got that top-down kind of style, and there's modifiers, and you're facing all these different enemies, and there'll be something that happens in the match that you might have to think about, and there's leveling, and there's talismans, and there's perks, kind of. And I mean, it's a big mode, and the first even tutorial of that mode will take you probably an hour plus just to go through it. And then there's like, I think 7 or 8 different regions after that. You can spend, I imagine, the exact same amount of length, if not more, in that mode as the story mode. So you're not even talking 5, 6 hours for the story. Try doubling it, right? Because you have to include invasion. Then there's the towers. There's obviously the multiplayer. There's a lot of customization. There's a lot of things to earn in this game. And I actually kind of like how or a lot of the earnings of costumes, of brutalities, of things like that. A lot of those things you're going to actually earn in invasion. You'll earn some of it in the story mode, but I found just a few hours into invasion, you are unlocking countless costumes, countless just different things that you get, again, some of it in the story, but you get a lot of it in invasion. So those are kind of the 2 main methods, I would say, to unlock things. In terms of the combat itself, I love it. I actually really love it. I still stand by Mortal Kombat 10 has the best feeling combat in any fighting game I've ever played. Definitely Mortal Kombat. I mean, I'm the most well-versed in that now, having played all of these games, but even like the small amount of Street Fighter I've played, Soul Calibur, I guess, back in the day, I'd say Mortal Kombat 10, in terms of the impact of when you're hitting an enemy in the literal side-by-side combat, it's the best feel Mortal Kombat's ever had. 11 is very good, I think, in terms of that, but it's a step down. And in this game, I think it's probably relatively the same. I'd maybe put it up there at maybe the second best feeling Mortal Kombat game, but I still think 10 is the best one. But okay, well, how is the combat in this game? It's very good. I felt good in doing the combos. I think there's so many characters in this game that are extremely good. There's a lot of beginner characters that I'm very thankful for, because again, although I've played a lot of these games, I'm still terrible. I'm still really bad. Now, I play the game on medium. I've played all these Mortal Kombat games on medium, and I do pretty good. I really actually kind of rarely lose. I don't lose all that much. If I do lose, it's like one round of the 3. In fact, I think in this game, playing on medium, I didn't lose. I didn't have to like restart a match. Maybe I did it once or twice towards the end, but that's it. And compared to like Mortal Kombat 9 or 10, I was pretty garbage at those games because I was just kind of learning. So I think it feels very good. I think the depth in the fighting is incredible. Again, there's some characters that are a little bit more beginner friendly. There's some characters that are a little bit harder. I think also in terms of the cast, before we get into the story, I think the cast is awesome. In terms of like the, I guess, roster, right? The roster of characters, I really like it. There's a meaty amount of them. Like I'm honestly pretty happy with who we have. I think they made the right choices. I think all returning faces, right? I don't think there's any original characters that are just started from this game. And I think that's fine, because you're going back and you're saying, okay, how do I normally play as Katana, right? Is she going to be a fan favorite of mine? I don't know, but at least you know that character's in the game. Melina, Liu Kang, Raiden, all these characters, and I think they're an absolute blast to play. Some more than others. Like, I absolutely have my favorites and I have my least favorites, but I think the roster and the diversity, and again, like, it all blends with the visuals, like watching these characters fight, or I guess you're playing as them. When you're fighting, it just looks so good. It feels good when you're connecting, feels good when you're landing combos. It's hard, at least for me, and probably not for other people, but I can only speak from my experience. I had a lot of fun. Let's talk about the story, but we're going to do it non-spoiler, okay? This is just going to be a very brief overview in terms of this review, and we'll go into it more in future videos. So, overall, I liked it. However, the last couple chapters, I think, were pretty bad. And I would actually say, that's the first time I've said that, okay? When I think of 9, 10, 11, I love the story of 9. I think 9 has the best story in the Mortal Kombat games I have personally played. 9 has the best. 10 was pretty darn good, but it was a step down, I think. 11 was also pretty okay, but a bigger step down. And Aftermath, I liked Aftermath, the DLC to 11, but overall, I think they've honestly kind of been going down ever since 9. This game, I think, keeps that trend. I think one thing this game does really well is when they focus on characters. I mentioned this actually to a viewer, community member of mine, Baraka, without spoiling it. Baraka may be actually my favorite character, actual character, not maybe player, like in terms of actually doing his moveset, although he is fun. Baraka is an incredibly good character in this game. I actually can't believe how good that he is. Reptile is actually an incredibly good character in this game. I can't believe how good he is. Sindel is a really great character. Katana and Melina, I think, are extreme, maybe even Melina more, I think, are really good characters. Liu Kang is really good. The theme here is when they focus on certain characters, and they do, the game really shines. It's actually more character-driven, I would say, than anything else. Where it falls massively is its creative decisions, is what it's trying to do. The issue being here, it's very hard to talk about the enemy of this game or what the overall plot and like the theme of the story. Very hard to go into that without spoiling it. Because basically, without spoiling, the first half of the game is introducing you into the universe, introducing you basically to the new variations of these characters, right? These are not exactly the same. They're close, but some of them will get to what we recognize as them throughout this game. Some don't, right? And so that's how the first half, at least, really sets up. They literally have a Mortal Kombat tournament. It's actually pretty short, and that's not really a spoiler, I don't think. And that's the first half of the game. Second half half of the game is very much what this game's story is in terms of its characters, in terms of what, again, like this big theme, these big twists that obviously a lot of these Mortal Kombat games have. I can just say, without spoiling that, I'm not a fan of a lot of the major decisions that took place in the second half of the game. I think there are some cool stuff. I think the final chapter is legendary in some ways. It's actually like unbelievably good in one way, but it's also unbelievably bad on the other. It's almost more of like, not shock factor, but it's so big, it's so like out there where it's like you can't help but liking it. But if you think about it for like 30, 40 seconds, you're saying, wait a second, what's going on here? So that's how I felt for probably the last 3, 4, 5 chapters of this game. First half, I think, is a little slow at times, but again, it's very character-centered, and I like that. I really actually appreciate that about this game. So I can't say I love the story, because I absolutely didn't, because I think the climax and the ending and all these really big decisions, that makes up a lot of the story, and I didn't agree with it. So I can't actually say that I loved it. I think I liked a lot of it, and then I disliked some of it. So overall, I do think it's the weakest story in a long time, and that does disappoint me because I was going in with rather high expectations. But at the same time, I will say this. Everything else kind of makes up for it. So on one hand, because I play these games literally for the story mode, and that's my problem. That's my fault. I understand that. I'm not here to tell you that everybody plays Mortal Kombat games just for the story. I know why people play. I know how these games survive, and it's the multiplayer. It's the one thing I'm not even going to talk about here because I really don't care all that much. It's not for me, but I respect it, okay? The bulk of this game is playing it for years and getting extremely good at characters and esports and the DLC characters and all that stuff, okay? I play the game for the story. The story was a letdown to me. However, visually, some of the character developments there, invasion mode, the combat that is extremely good, even for somebody who's not very good, I can appreciate it, I can respect it. Those are all excellent, okay? Those are all really good elements of this game that I think make up for a more mediocre story. So I still absolutely would recommend the game. The story aside, and people are going to have different opinions. I think it'll be mixed. I think some people may like the story more than others, and that's totally fine. I'm just telling you how I feel, and there you go. So I do still recommend it. I think it's worth it, and, it depends on, I guess, why you're going into the game for sure, but it is what it is. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.